He seemed great at first, right? Until he wasn't. What if I was to tell you that the red flags that you saw later on was actually there in the very beginning? Let me explain. So the other day I was working with a client, and without sharing personal details, I'll share an example that I gave with her. So let's say that we have point A to point Z here, right? It's a route. And let's say that in order for you to drive from point A to point Z, it takes 1 hour long. Then let's say that I go out there, you're about to drive this route, and I go and put red flags on this 1 hour drive, okay? Then let's say that instead of actually driving there, you go inside of the fastest jet known to man. I don't know how long it's going to take from you to go to point A to point Z, but my guess is that if you're flying in a jet, it's going to take a few seconds instead of a whole hour driving. Then let's say I ask you, we put it in autopilot, right? You go around again. And in autopilot, you have to look down and spot how many red flags there are. You're close to the ground as well. How many red flags are you going to see if you're going that fast? Probably 1, maybe 2, maybe 3. Then let's say, instead of driving, you actually walk the entire distance from point A to point Z, and you're taking your time. How many red flags do you think you're going to spot then? You're going to spot all of them, right? So what is the lesson here? Well, what I was sharing with my client during this time is I said to her, in the past, that relationship that you had a lot of pain around, and there's some fear around that past relationship repeating itself, which is causing this resistance to date again, how fast did you get into that relationship? And 9 times out of 10, whenever it is that I'm working with a client and I give this example, they tend to get into a relationship fairly quickly. Sometimes it's a few weeks, sometimes it's a month, maybe it's even 2 months. And because they're rushing, they're in the fighter jet, they're in the jet rushing into the relationship, they're not able to see the red flags compared to walking in dating. Because one of the things that isn't spoken about enough when dating is the power of pacing. The power of dating with discernment. And dating with discernment just means the ability to judge well. And it's very hard to judge well, it's very hard to see clearly when you're going too quickly. So when you're able to take your time, you're able to see, does this man show up consistently? He may be great in the beginning. Anyone can be great for an hour or a few weeks, but how does he show up in conflict? How does he show up over a period of 2 to 3 months? Does he maintain his character over a long period of time? Because the red flags that show up early on in a relationship would have been seen if you take your time early on in the dating stage, which is why it's so important to have a dating plan. It's so important to have support so you can really ensure that you're not rushing into a relationship. You're not flying in a jet into a relationship. Now, it's so important when you are dating to know what to look out for. And there are 3 things that you want to look out for when you're pacing yourself, because this is going to ensure that you know if you can trust this man to enter into a relationship or if you can't trust this man. So there are 3 things. I'm going to leave a video here, or if you're watching on a podcast, you'll see it in the description. Make sure you go ahead and watch that. But before you leave, I would love to know, what was your biggest takeaway from this video? Go ahead and leave that in the comment section. I'd love to know, and I'll see you on this next video.